for the presidency a fourth time.
Nay.
I'm also going to say no, but caveat it and say Republicans need to cut this horse hockey out. Let's back up for a second, because in case you missed it, I want to say on Friday, none other than Steve Bannon himself, former top Trump advisor, former White House chief of staff, former campaign manager, former felon, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, former felon.
He essentially said in an interview that there is a secret plan in the works for Donald Trump to serve another term in office, and that at the proper time, they would unveil it to the world.
Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Fast forward to Sunday overnight. Of course, the president is on his big trip to Asia, and Trump was asked about Bannon's comments in particular. Here's what he had to say.
You said that for 2028, they're very good people.
Well, we have great people. I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have JD, obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against us. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? You'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
So, Tiana, I know the headlines ran that, Donald Trump doesn't rule out ruling for a third term.
But he does. He says, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I think it's too cute.
If you listen to his words, it's pretty clear that the president is trolling. And here's part of the problem. When everything's going good and you want to poke fun at the other guy, sure, whatever. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And I do think there are two possibilities at play for what Steve Bannon was talking about. On the one hand, he is just trying to piss off Democrats, potentially. They know that no kings, all this stuff, the thought of Trump being the next Hitler meets, Charles, whoever, the 19th cyborg run by AI is going to rule the United States forever. And so they're trying to take their eyes off the ball when they are, again, united on the shutdown. There is massive, massive opposition, which has been maintained throughout the entire summer for the president's deportation and ICE agenda, whatever. Perhaps he's trying to distract them. But on the other hand, there is a possibility that these people, who we should mention, are not actually employed within the Trump apparatus right now, either at the White House or with his political team. They are still just outside conservative talking heads, for lack of a better term at this point in time. Do they actually believe this stuff? Because that is a problem, and that is scary.
No. I almost didn't even want to do this block because it angers me at like a core gut level to give Steve Bannon any more attention than he wants.
Yeah.
And he's doing this because he wants attention. Let's be very clear. Steve Bannon has been on the outs with Trump for a very long time, but especially since this summer, when Steve Bannon called Operation Midnight Hammer one of the bravest acts in foreign policy of a president in my lifetime that took out Iran's nuclear weapons capability. He called that a potential psyop. He has accused John Ratcliffe, who is Trump's hand-selected CIA director, of being compromised by Mossad, and continues to undermine Trump's, correctly, I would say, Nobel Peace Prize warranting foreign policy. Steve Bannon is doing this because it means that The Economist will give him attention. Otherwise, he is a crazy dude,
Who
vlogging.
wears too many shirts.
Who's wearing too many shirts, who's vlogging from his basement. There was no real way to circumvent the 22nd Amendment without passing another amendment, right? It is very clear. Another constitutional amendment. Try playing this game. Go on to Grok or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI you use and try and gamify it. Try and gamify it in a serious way. Say, can you apply the 12th Amendment to discard the 22nd? Can you make Trump the vice presidential nominee? Can he run for Speaker of the House and become Speaker of the House, and let's say Air Force One is nuked and he is the third in line in succession? Could he then become president? It does not work.
Yeah.
We have had cases, right? Like, we have cases in the past of you have the presidential succession, and say someone like Elaine Chao, who was transportation secretary, was technically in the presidential succession, but not really, because she wasn't born in America or to U.S. citizen. She was not a natural born citizen. It's all an attention grab. It's all a way of, monetizing clicks on X or TikTok or whatever you do it. And it's a very disingenuous way of kicking the can down the road to what will be a very important question, which is, what is the Republican Party after Trump? And I don't think Trump goes away, right?
No, he's going to be kingmaker at Mar-a-Lago.
Correct. And I think it's what he could have done after losing 2020.
A lot of people thought he was going to do that, yeah.
And we have a pretty broad bench, unlike the Democrats, where I'm like, y'all are so cooked, I don't know who you choose. Republicans have a pretty strong bench with a lot of ideological factions, right? Within the Trump administration and outside of it, in federal government and in state government. That any talk about the 22nd Amendment, believing you have one cult of personality that can save your entire party, Democrats tried that once before, and it was Obama. And how did it work out? The second Obama left,
the party fell apart.
Yeah, the party, have Democrats had a candidate on the federal level that they could trust to nail any interview, that could nail any press gaggle? No. Hillary Clinton was bad at it. Joe Biden was old, and then he was really old. And then Kamala Harris makes both of them sound like, they're Lincoln and Douglas debating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. For the record, I agree with T. I don't think Trump's going to run again for any number of reasons. The first and foremost is his age. Let's be honest. I mean, this is not an easy job.
He's old, yeah.
He knows it twice over now. And in 2028, he's going to be 3 years older than Joe Biden was in 2024. So, the math doesn't math here. Number two, you really think J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, the vice president and the secretary of state, are just going to sit around and let Trump put them in a corner when they are the clear favorites to face off in the Republican primary? And probably the undercard or the loser, however you want to frame it, is going to be VP. That's, do they really want to take a back seat again? Do you think Rubio wants to sit in the Oval Office while Donald Trump is embarrassing himself in front of foreign leaders, and then Rubio has to do cleanup? I think
he has
not.
to then be national archivist and NSA director and Secretary of
Exactly,
State and, insert 5 more jobs. No, he wants to only do one job.
Governor of Venezuela.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, but seriously, I talk about this with my wife, who I'll just come out and say is very, very progressive, about whether or not Trump has changed this time around than the first time around. Because she will admit he's operating differently. He's not a totally different person, but the second term is very different from the first term, both in terms of scope and focus on the things he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, actual follow-through, and to be honest, the way he interacts with the media, the way he interacts with foreign leaders, the way he even interacts with members of his own party.
I think he found God.
I mean, I don't want to make fun of it, but I do think
No, it's not. I'm not making fun of it.
No, that's part of it. And
he was this close
from being
to death.
assassinated in Butler.
And
I think
if you believe in God, God turned his head.
I think he believes, or not believes, he adheres to this new set of tenets where what's driving him is, what will my long-term legacy be? I have already established myself as a disruptor. I've upended decades of political norms, which again, doesn't matter how you believe. You have to admit, Trump has fundamentally changed the way we play the game. After his second term in office, even after his first term in office, it was a very different America. And I do think he doesn't want to be viewed as the person who quite literally subverts the Constitution and tears down the greatest democracy in the world. So please, I beg of you, Nobel Committee, give this man a Peace Prize. You brought it up earlier. That's what he wants. He just wants to be loved. So get him out of here.
And also, with Trump, he has been given this amazing second chance, not just at life, but also in rewriting the political the greatest political comeback of all time. You want to end it on a high note. And crucially, it's the oldest story ever told. It's literally pre-biblical, and that is the story of succession. And what makes what defines the difference between like a great leader and a like generational defining one is what is the succession they leave behind. And I'm not just talking about like in monarchies, the fact that you have, it's usually a matter of life and death, and it's usually a matter of, genetic inheritance. But even in the history of the Roman Republic, even in the history of the Holy Roman Empire, where the emperor was elected, leaving behind a continuous form of government that could be made in your vision, that is what helps your legacy. Like, do you think Barack Obama likes seeing his legacy be completely erased by Donald Trump?
By Joe Biden, too, yeah.
And by Joe Biden. The fact is, Trump's old enough that he will Trump's healthy enough, and if you look at his family, both of his parents didn't die until like they were well into their 90s. He will probably live to see the next, at minimum, 4 years after he leaves office. He will want to see his legacy upheld, not destroyed. So
Yeah.
I think he will, once again, not listen to Steve Bannon.
All right, and that brings us to our final segment of the week. Time to fill in the blank.